Welcome to Movement Monday, aka Money Mondays, streaming live on Ariel Judah worldwide in tandem with the Spirit of the Game Foundation and the World of Ability Network via our dedicated Zoom Intercept feed on YouTube. So we're stepping into a brand new week, and that means we start by looking directly at the baseline. No emotions, no illusions, no hiding behind high concept theories. Monday is the day we audit the hard facts to drive our objectives forward. So, true entrepreneurship and real world impact require an uncompromised evaluation of two critical metrics: money and momentum. Let's dissect exactly what that means, because people mix these two terms up like constantly. So money is the oxygen that keeps your operation breathing. It's the fuel in the tank. If you don't have money, your vision remains a hallucination because you lack the capital to purchase speed, lock down assets, or sustain workers on the ground. But money without momentum is dead capital. Momentum is the velocity at which your decisions are being converted into reality on the ground. It's your speed of execution. It's the gap between saying, we need to do this, and actually having the project managed, completed, and validated. Look back at the ground you've occupied last week. Did you move closer to your target? Or did you let administrative clutter, fear, or overanalysis stall your engine? If you have your master tracking ledger open right now, drop your number one operational priority for today in the chat and let the room know exactly where you're focusing your energy. If you're still updating your records, keep typing. But remember the rule of the house. An audit without action is completely useless. We review the progress of the last 7 days to identify the gaps, clear the baseline, and ensure that every single resource we deploy this week is engineered for maximum traction. We do not work to stay busy, we execute to build sustainable equity. All right, so the second part about this is kind of about me shifting my mindset more from just a founder and an entrepreneur, and as a missionary. And that is the purpose of me doing this podcast, is to really make an impact in the world directly and to go out and go where God leads me. So we're going to talk about that. So let's expand the scope. So the strategy is growing, and the stakes just got much higher for every single leader, founder and builder, just by hearing me out. Right now, I'm undergoing a major tactical shift in my own journey. I'm stepping out on a walk as a missionary, intentionally deploying myself to support grassroots education, community empowerment, and social equity initiatives. This isn't a theoretical exercise. This isn't a case study out of a textbook. This is a live, on the ground commitment to real human beings. So, for every founder and humanitarian tuning in, the paradigm is identical. To lead a movement effectively, you must possess the humility to learn how to actually be of service to the people on the ground. So there's a massive trap in the startup world where founders want to sit in ivory towers, looking at high level dashboards and managing things from like from a comfortable distance, like just kind of like playing chess in the background, and that doesn't work in the field. If you do not understand the daily raw lived friction of the community that you claim to serve, your solutions will be clinical. They're going to be detached and ultimately useless. So the real leadership is neighbor to neighbor execution. Is getting your boots dirty. Our core objective right now is to build an unthrottled, highly sustainable bridge between global resources and local action. So we need to locate the pipelines that already work. You know, we got some stuff in here about dropping the chat, but if you're really connected, to global humanitarian operations, or if you know an active group that moves resources directly to frontline initiatives without corporate dilution, whether you're typing it out, or doing some notes on your own, Just put something in the comments that's telling us about, your objective as a humanitarian and what you're looking to impact. Even if you own a business and you have a simple catch-all that you like to do to help, impact the world. So yeah, but you can't operate solo on an island. You gotta find and align with organizations that catalyze you know humanitarian projects. My personal goal is to align with more missionary organizations, missionary Baptists, and humanitarian projects locally here in Nashville, Tennessee, and virtually across the global digital landscape. And so we aren't here to reinvent the wheel. We're here to weave the network. you know we're not doing anything different. We're just here to just do, the right thing. So putting reason in relationships and the tactical command. So this brings us right back to our foundational framework. Putting reason to our relationships. So we do not view people, foundations, or overlapping organizations through a superficial or purely like transactional lens. We don't ask, what can I get from this person? Instead, we use structural logic to map out our human ecosystem. So, our immediate priority as humanitarians and founders is to identify the organizations, local faith based networks, and direct alliances that possess the infrastructure to accelerate missionary work on the ground. So, we're looking for partners who understand logistics, cross border resource routing, and sustainable long term development. So we look for the answers directly within our community first. We embrace the surrounding industries. We cooperate with adjacent groups. And by bringing these local and virtual assets together under a unified project management agreement, we secure our baseline. We protect our momentum and eliminate systemic waste. So the Movement Monday command, or the Money Monday move is really what we should call it. Open your communications matrix immediately. Identify 3 local Nashville organizations, not Nashville. That's really my goal for myself. Go local to your city. Make sure you find organizations that are local to you, global missionary networks, virtual coalitions that specialize in mobilizing grassroots humanitarian efforts. Reach out to them today with zero transactional, intent. Just find out their capabilities, map out their current logistical friction, and pull them into the loop. Because basically, the goal is, if you're somebody tuned into this podcast and you're my ideal listener, you're somebody who is a founder. You're somebody who is a humanitarian, somebody who's an activist. You're somebody who's even maybe a pastor, a missionary. You're somebody who is coming into the world to make an impact solely. And we want to make sure that you're talking with the people who surround the issues that you focus on, and make sure that you have alignment and really touch the ground and really get in tune with the people who matter, that you want to impact, that you want to help, that you're working for. So, all right. So tomorrow is Tech Tuesday. So the command for today is to open up your communications matrix, identify those local organizations, tap in, leave a comment. Tomorrow we're going to focus entirely on running a live friction reset and stripping out the software traps that slow down your business model. So before we cut the feed today, if you're a high performing founder, a leader running a social equity startup, or a humanitarian operator out in the field doing real work right now, we really want to hear your story. There's a lot of opportunities to apply as a guest for different podcasts. So you can go to thetrustedtradesman.com to be on the Building Trust podcast, to tell us about your experience with Aaron, Tim Rosignol, and I. And then also on arieljudah.com, you can put a contact us form for accountability, and we can get your organization vetted to lock arms with our network, inside the Trusted Trade Hub as well. So let's put code reason to our relationships and build uncompromised equity together. And remember, what's fun gets done. Make sure you look at all your numbers. We said it last week, but I'll tell you again. Make sure that you look at all the money that you have, all the money that you owe, and all the money that you have coming in that you already earned. And also look at the money that you are prospecting to earn from donors, from different resources. Make sure that you audit your books. That's the point of Money Mondays, Movement Mondays. And outside of that, you want to make sure that you look at your plan, your mission, vision, values. What's your emotional bank account looking like? Are you really connected with the people who are related to your issue? So make sure that you get connected and you're allocating your resources towards the work that really needs to be done. And what's fun gets done.